Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
With fewer than 100 days until voters head to the polls, if re-elected, former President Donald Trump is widely expected to appoint a so-called Capitol Hill cabinet full of congressmen. A potential shortlist includes Republican Senator Bill Hagerty, who is being floated as a pick for Treasury Secretary. The Senator joins us right now. Senator, it's great to catch up with you, sir. We tried to do this last week, so this is our second attempt. I think this one's going to work.
Good to be back with you, Jonathan, Lisa. Thank you.
Let's start with foreign exchange if we can, sir. We caught up with the former president here at Bloomberg just a number of weeks ago. And in Bloomberg Business Week, he told us that he believes we have a bit of a currency problem in the United States of America. Senator, I would love your perspective on that, whether you agree with the former president on that issue, and what kind of policy tools do you think the government has to address it?
We have a number of problems with the economy. I think the biggest one, however, and it's related, is inflation. And inflation is driving higher interest rates. Of course, that has a direct impact on our currency. But President Trump's policies will have an immediate impact to bring inflation down because he's going to end this administration's war on fossil fuels, bring energy costs down, go back to a deregulatory construct as he did in the prior administration, taking down regulatory and compliance barriers. All of these will have a lowering impact on cost here in America. It'll have a lower impact on inflation. Those will be directly beneficiary and basically help make the case then to bring rates down and therefore bring our currency into a different position.
Senator, there are two other proposals as well, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Much higher tariffs, a much tougher stance on immigration. I'm not going to sit here and say whether that's the right or wrong thing to do. I just want to talk about outcomes and consequences. Deutsche Bank, like others on Wall Street, Senator, as you know, have pointed out that tariffs and their associated stronger implications for the dollar are significantly more likely to be the dominant market outcome than policies to pursue a weaker dollar. Senator, my question to you would be, why wouldn't higher tariffs and a tougher stance on immigration ultimately just lead to stagflation?
Look, I'm fully aware of the concerns surrounding tariffs, but let me make this point. The United States of America has the lowest tariff barriers of any major economy in the world. The converse of that statement is that our major trading partners do not have the similar tariffs. They have much higher tariffs. Therefore, we have a real lack of reciprocity. That's not fair. That's something that needs to be addressed. Many of these issues date back all the way to World War II. But there's come a time and a place to step up and address them. President Trump wants to see them addressed. We want to see more reciprocal and fair trading terms. The time has come to get that accomplished.
Senator, from a market perspective, people are struggling with these two goals, sort of national security, fairness on one hand, and on the other hand, the idea of the advantage of a weaker currency for trade purposes, which takes preeminence.
Well, I think it's something that always has to be balanced, Lisa, and I think you'll see any administration do their best to do it. I think President Trump did an excellent job of that during his first administration. The playbook is laid out there. We were strong, we were tough with China. At the same time, we brought economic growth that was twice the rate of any other major economy at the same time here in America. So we can do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think that's the challenge. The most important thing, though, is that President Trump will come in and end these reckless policies domestically that have created inflation that has caused so many knock-on effects. Again, back to energy independence. We need to get there. Not only will it be important for lowering inflation here, but it'll be an important geostrategic tool as we become much stronger allies who are able to export our energy to places like Europe and Asia.
All right, let's go there. You've mentioned it a couple times, this idea of a war on fossil fuels, as well as the idea of not really achieving the goal of energy independence. We're pumping more oil in the United States. We're producing more oil than ever before, more than 13 million barrels a day. This is something unseen before in terms of production from any other nation. How can you say that it's a war on fossil fuels at a time where it is record production?
Lisa, it clearly is a war on fossil fuels because Joe Biden came in and took federal lands off the map immediately upon taking office. That's a quarter of our capacity right there. What you're not saying is that there was a trajectory that was much more rapid, much higher. We took ourselves off of that growth trajectory and we flattened it. We continued to produce, but demand is outstripping it. Think about the demand for electricity here in America. If you think about what we're going to need for artificial intelligence, the electrification of the grid, we've got to get back into the energy production business full blast. We have the technology to do it. This administration has done everything they can to slow that down. We need to get back on a rapid growth path. That'll put us on a trajectory to be not only stronger here domestically and lower inflation, but also stronger partners with our allies.
So, Senator, right now we're producing 13.3 million barrels of crude every single day. As Lisa pointed out, that's a record. It's more than anyone on the planet. How much crude do you think America should be and can be producing?
We should be producing more than anybody else in the world, as we are. We need to produce more LNG, and we need to become the strongest energy partner there is. You think about pipeline capacity and the difficulty of getting permits of this administration. You think about the difficulty of getting a refinery started here in America. All of these log jams and difficulties make it less possible for us, make it more difficult for us to be the best possible ally that we could. We need to expand it. We need to realize that this is a true source of competitive advantage for the United States of America. Let's exploit it.
Let's talk about who is an ally and who isn't an ally. There's lots of conversations about what's going to happen with trade policy and China. I think we've sort of exhausted that conversation many times over the last few weeks. Senator, I want to talk about Mexico. I want your view on Mexico. We saw from Elon Musk of Tesla that he's holding back investment decisions in the country because he thinks there might be a change in the next year that makes it difficult to produce automobiles over in Mexico. We've heard similar thoughts from auto manufacturers elsewhere worldwide. What is happening in Mexico, and what kind of changes would you like to see?
Well, in 2026, the USMCA is up for renegotiation. I think one of the greatest concerns is the fact that Chinese EV makers are looking to end-run the end-run tariffs and use the USMCA and Mexico market in particular as a means to get into the U.S. market, and they're using their subsidized product destroy the U.S. market. That's going to have to take a very solid look. I think also with respect to Mexico itself, we've seen some very concerning behavior there. The prior administration there under AMLO actually nationalizing American companies' assets. We've got to address that. I intend to speak with the new administration there very soon about what we can do to make certain we have much better and much stronger relationship there with Mexico on fairer terms.
Senator, the last time we tried to talk, you were at a Bitcoin conference, and this was our cryptocurrency conference, and that was where the former President Trump was speaking and fundraising, and we've been asking this question on the show. Why Bitcoin? Why now? Why crypto assets? What's sort of the motivation to really embrace a network of crypto assets and become the preeminent network on the planet? From a Republican sort of stance, is this something that is concrete, and why?
Lisa, I think this is something that has evolved over time. I first began looking into crypto in the previous administration in 2018. That was my first engagement. I initially started at a point of skepticism, as I think many of my colleagues do. But when I began to understand the underlying technology and realizing the potential for dramatic productivity gains, what I thought to myself is we need to make certain that it happens here in America. The last thing we want is to see what happened with the semiconductor industry, where it got pushed offshore and weakened us from a geopolitical standpoint. We need to see this innovation happening here. I've been in many conversations with President Trump. His thinking is likewise involved, and he's embracing the fact that this has tremendous potential for America. We want it to evolve here. We want to create the ecosystem for it to thrive here. And the last thing we need to do is push it offshore. However, the current administration has done everything they can to attack this industry, to push it offshore, again, to use the SEC, the CFTC, every tool at their disposal to come in and attack this industry and refuse to provide it with any type of regulatory framework. President Trump made the statement at the Bitcoin conference that one of the first things he'll do is change out the administration's leadership. Gary Gensler, he said, will be fired. That brought people to their feet in applause. He's going to end Operation Choke Point that's been taking place in the crypto industry here in America. And he's going to try to create the environment here where the industry can thrive, and we'll see the next wave of innovation happening right here in America.
Senator, we've got to dance around the issue about your future, so this is how I frame it. I've got 20 seconds left on the clock. Your favorite city to live in, Nashville, Tokyo,
Absolutely.
Or Washington, D.C.? Which one?
No, it has to be Nashville, Tennessee. And if you've been there at the crypto conference, you've seen the energy there. It is absolutely wonderful what's happening broadly across my state. That's why so many people are moving there.
Senator, thank you, sir. Senator Bill Hagerty there on the latest with crypto, the economy.